not only have we returned European football to Ewood Park, we have actually taken Blackburn Rovers to a European final. A final that we will play live shortly. But first I need to tell you how we got there. So to summarise these 3 seasons, we need to go right back to the beginning. And before I get going fully here, I just want to make one thing clear. In this rebuild, I haven't just gone on holiday and simulated the season. I know some people do that. That's not a disparagement comment on them, but it's just not the way I like to operate. I like to still be involved in the day-to-day. Now, the majority of the games, I still simulate those matches just to be completely transparent. In Season 1 in particular, in the Championship, any game against a title potential rival or playoff contender, I tended to play those ones and then just simulated the rest. You know, the ones that we probably should be winning, I simulated. I've actually found myself simulating less matches as the seasons have gone on, which may just say something about my involvement and care about this save going forward, but I just want to make that clear up front. But with the original squad, as you inherit it in the Championship, it looks a little bit like this. Now, I've brought you in sorted by wage. Now, in my opinion, this is how you should start every single save. Get into your squad page, sort your squad by wage. And ideally, obviously, set up your view to include ability, potential ability, and when that contract expires. Because then you see basically all the important bits to work out who to cut, who to keep, and who to offer a new contract to. Because immediately you can see at the very top there, wanted Sam Gallagher. Now, of course, I also need to be clear here. I don't hold any sentimental value to Blackburn. They are merely just a former Premier League squad. And part of the reason why I've chosen them is because they are the former home of one of the reasons why I ended up supporting Newcastle, Alan Shearer. But of course, they are former Premier League winners as well. So I thought it was about time to return them to that kind of glory. Now, of course, no European, at least notable European competitions won that they feature here. And they are predicted 6th. I'm not sure they're doing quite as well in real life, but they are predicted 6th. So I thought it was about time I ended Blackburn Rovers' suffering, because effectively they've been a Championship team for a decade. A brief sojourn into League One. That was immediately rectified, but they've been lingering and lurking in the Championship for far too long. But back to the squad. Sam Gallagher has a solid history here, bought for $5 million, been there many, many years now. Honestly, I thought he was more prolific than he was. So I don't know if the Blackburn supporters hold him in any high regard whatsoever, but his contract is up at the end of the year and he's on the highest wage. And doesn't appear, at the very least, to be a massive goal scorer. And looking at his attributes, kind of backs that up. Fairly solid in some of the physicals, but yeah, lacking very much kind of mentally, just very average for the most part. Just a relatively good workhorse that can jump. And that's about it. And you're looking down this list at other high earners who maybe not worth it. Unfortunately, Tronstad is a recent acquisition, so I just have to deal with that one. But you're also looking at these potential 5-star players down here on lower wages. Markanday, Batty, Adam Wharton, of course. Adam Wharton is the main one here. Of course, he's moved to Crystal Palace in real life for big money. He's not worth that money here. Adam Wharton is the kind of player you either build the team around going forward or you sell to buy more players. Unfortunately, Blackburn's situation starts like this with £1 million transfer budget, but crucially, 10% of transfer revenue made available. So if you sold him, you'd only get 10%, which means Adam Wharton falls into the former of those two, and he's now the person we build this team around. And we will be rejecting any offers for him, unless they are obviously too good to be true. Otherwise, he'll just kick off. And the other one to pay attention to is Joe Rankin Costello. £5,000 a week, 2024 expiration date as well, but he appears to be well-rounded, 3.5 star already, 4-star potential, and well-rounded just in terms of his attributes to begin with, and can play in a lot of places. So he's the kind of player you give the new contract to. Hopefully it's not too excessive, and he'll do your job everywhere because he's also big matches consistent. They also did this on the transfer setting that has the players come in and leave when they did in real life, just because I wanted to play that same way in case the players came in during the course of August when you still play games, but the transfer window is still open. So I still wanted to play with those limitations in those early few games. That's really the only reason to do it. And already looking at the inbound players, there are some that I don't really understand. Telelovic, functional. The one I do understand is Sigurdsson. He's very good, comes in injured for 2 to 3 months, but comes in. And the other important one is to replace the outbound Kaminsky, who is very good, but of course he's gone to Luton, is Leopold Volstad, who is also quite good. So goalkeeper you don't need to concern about, but there are still holes in this squad. I believe the only sale other than the obvious one that I ended up making was Sam Barnes, who got an offer from Empoli that was too good and his head was turned, if I remember rightly. And his potential was only Championship in the end anyhow. So sold him 325k. Obviously only got 30 grand of that. Irrelevant really. The only other sale that was mine was Sam Gallagher's sale to Bristol City. He didn't go till January, so I only got 60 grand for him, but it's 60 grand versus nothing. And he did get his wages off the bill. He played 3 games for me, scored once, did actually okay, but it was more about those wages and getting them off. He is leading EFL League 1 standard according to my scout, so yeah. It was loans that solved our Season 1 woes though. Left back needed help, so we brought in Kazimkan Karatas on loan from Galatasaray, who played very well for us, averaging a 7, which isn't bad for a left back. We brought in Maximilian Bayer on loan from Hoffenheim, who, again, did very well for us. Main goal scorer, 20 goals, 30 appearances. Perkovic on loan in centre-back role, played majority of the time, did very well for us, 7.07. We also put Andrew Moran in loan. This one was a little bit of a mistake if I remember rightly, but he did play a lot of games just because it cost us 400 grand. Or no, Andrew Moran, I believe, was a already in the works loan that I kind of missed, but he played very well for us. The aforementioned Talalovic didn't play a game because he was rubbish. We did buy Sebastian Ernst from Hanover for 275k, just a functional well-rounded player that kind of did the job, wasn't spectacular. And 2 free agents in the form of Felipe Caicedo, formerly of Inter Milan and Lazio. Free agent wasn't that good, if I'm honest. Didn't play that many games, didn't really perform in the ones he did. Did get 5 goals in only 11 starts, so obviously just quite bad outside of that for whatever reason. Is either scored or terrible. And also to help a left-back situation that developed over the course of the year, we brought in Levin Kurzweil on a free as well, former PSG. Some European talent that's seen better days, but he's worth a bit and well-rounded. And you might be thinking, a bunch of those inbound transfers that we made had great ratings. We must have had a good season. We had a very good season. We scored 103 points. Still second, because Norwich had the best season ever seen in the Championship. They got 111 points. 111. The record before that, I believe, was 106, or something like that, by Reading. 31 wins, 10 draws, 5 losses for us. Norwich only lost 3 times. I've actually ended up putting the save point here before the playoff final. I actually can't remember who got promoted out of those two. But over the course of the season, we played the 4-3-2-1 that began its life as the West Ham rebuild formation on last year's game. Also used it at Pardubice on stream, and then for Wolves in the beta save, and it got adjusted for that because of the personnel there. But this is the standard one that I've used over the last couple of years, really, so I thought I'd start with something safe, something that seemed to actually fit the squad as a whole in terms of the personnel they had, and it just made a lot of sense. But the squad you see here is effectively the squad that we played the majority of the time. Ernst, obviously normally Wharton or Moran in there, but otherwise this is basically the squad that played the entire season. In fact, I'll put him in there just so it doesn't get confusing. Warstad in goal, Kazim Khan at left back, Wharton, Hyam, Britton at right back, or Rankin Costello, because he's actually better there. Tronstad in a half-back role with Smodic and Wharton in front of them, Sigurdsson, Hedges, or whoever over there, because there's about 4 people who can play on that side. Markanday and Dolan, I think, are the other left-footed players in that role there, but Sigurdsson on the left, sometimes Moran, and then Bayer usually up front. And as you may have guessed, Bayer, top goal scorer, 20 goals. Wharton with 14. Smodic with 11. He's their high goal scorer in real life, if I remember rightly. Does play attacking midfield. I'll be honest, I haven't seen enough of Blackburn in real life to know where he actually plays, but if they're missing striker off that, that would be quite funny. And would have really solved a problem for me, quite frankly, early on. Some of these contracts have already begun for next year. Smodic and Hyam have demanded 30 grand a week, and we are a Premier League team, so we can afford it. Rankin Costello, we did get on 12.5 grand, which was solid because it didn't even make him the highest paid player at that point in time. But again, sorting this by wage, you can see where the cuts need to be made next year. Talalovic, God knows why he was signed in the first place. Tronstad, similar boat. Functional enough for the Championship, but has no place in the Premier League team. Caicedo, we got on 8 grand a week, so he's actually fine to just sort of be there in the squad. Adam Wharton is obviously due a new contract because he's on 5 grand a week and has already had bids around, and we promised to sell him if £14.5 million bid was received. We haven't had that so far as of season 1. And obviously the backup goalkeeper situation is relatively bad. But Ainsley Pears, solid enough. Hilton, nope. And Markanday, you can see there, the players that had 5-star potential, Markanday's 3.5 now officially. Wharton's remains 5. And Rankin Costello remains one of the best players here. So it was a relatively solid season where we lost on the final day, not that it mattered at that point in time. But consistency was largely the name of the day, really. Like, we started strongly, being West Brom, Rotherham and Hull, actually not conceding in the league in the entirety of August. But yeah, 4-0, 5-0, a 6-5 against Sunderland, losing to Ipswich, October unbeaten, November unbeaten, December a little bit more rocky, losing at home to Leeds, lost away at West Brom, and then unbeaten through February, March and April is what got us that promotion realistically. 4-2 against Southampton, one of the big ones there, Bristol City 4-0, Sheffield Wednesday 5-0, Leeds 1-1 away, didn't beat them at all year, and then Leicester on the final day losing, but didn't matter. As for the Premier League, we got good money for Lewis Travis, who went to Middlesbrough, and Markandé, who went to Cardiff, 30 million for the pair of them. Peregrine also went to Sheffield United, a League One player, apparently, but he went to Sheffield United for a couple of million. And Kurzweil resold to Malaga for 1.4 because he did not get better. He got bad quickly. Same kind of situation with Caicedo. Admittedly, this is 2 million effectively for the pair of them that we got in on a free. And Ernst we actually doubled our money on, but he still went to Ibar for 500k thereabouts. And Talalovich we effectively got Blackburn's money back on because he went to a Bosnian team for 200k. They paid 250k for him. But we dealt in the free agent market by acquiring Brandon Williams on a free, who can play both sides, and Kjell Scherpen, who was released by Brighton as our backup goalkeeper. Along with, late in the season, Joachim Andersen. He was a free agent in March. Having been released by Al Hilal, he remarkably agreed to 40 grand a week, and by far and away, our best player now. So, thank you. But for the actual transfer windows, Adarabioyo, however you pronounce it, 7.25 million from Fulham, Premier League centre-back. Jan Nicholas Best, 2.8 million from Heidenheim, playing at left-back because tackling doesn't matter, and it's still functional even if it did. Santiago Ramos Mingo, former Barcelona prospect, also in a centre-back, left-footed, for a couple of million. Jim Gonzalez, also former Barcelona player, never played for them. Just shy of 6 million for him to play the half-back role, taking over from Tronstad. Then we also brought in Seb Vandenberg for depth purposes, centre-back and right-back for him, 500k. And a loan fee for Diondrena Bailio, a tall boy, who just gives us a different option up front because our main striker going into this season is someone I acquired at Wolves and never really played because we were too good for him at any given point. But Rodrigo Ribeiro we got for 250k from Sporting. He played most of the games. I say most of the games. He started 12 and was subbed on in 12. 6.89. Not prolific, but 8 goals in 12 starts isn't bad. Yeah, we had an issue with striker because he scored 5 and 24 and bad ratings and people complained that we weren't playing him. We also acquired in the summer window Luca Oriano, who is a functional inside forward on the right-hand side, with a bit of potential for 5.25 million from Strasbourg. Again, not great. And then in January for 500k, Finn Becker, depth, midfield, needed. And Matarali, 1 million from Celtic. Again, depth, midfield, needed, worth more than $1 million. Also brought in Cabbage to sort of maybe sort out the underperforming right-sided situation. 6.82, no goals, didn't help. And Laclava, 400k. Also, that position, left-footed, inverted inside forward on that right-hand side. 6.69, no goals. You can see the problem. Also in January, Bertug Yildirim, 7.5 million, 14 finishing, well-rounded physicals, seems quite good on paper. 4 goals, 8 starts, 6.73. Also Nathan Zeze, left-footed centre-back, 6.5 million, 5 appearances, only 1 start, clearly worth the money. At the very least, he's worth more than what we paid for him. Effectively, what we did a majority of this window, and Premier League windows, was getting players who were much... Effectively, our main target was to get players that were good enough for the Premier League, but also had much better selling value than what we acquired them for. Because, I'll say this right now, by the way, I only ever got the transfer revenue up to 55%. I probably could have asked them to improve it more often than I ended up remembering to do it. But yeah, the board never just gave me the 100% of transfer value just off their own back. You also might be thinking, those average ratings weren't that good. How on earth did you get European football? Well, I got it by being 8th, and the save point I've put in before the actual thing that got us European football. It was Leeds that did get promoted, by the way, and they got relegated straight away, along with Norwich. So there's 111 points serving you well there. Not. But we did get 8th in the Premier League, just missing out on automatic European football. But yeah, there's save points before the FA Cup final, so you can guess how we got European football. I'll show you a result on the next save. But ignoring that final, yeah, our top goal scorer is 10. I had genuinely no idea how we ended up 8th when we scored this many goals. Player that we're missing in all this as well was Vasily Anzic, who again 6.71. Not prolific. Admittedly, this only shows you the league goals, so there's more down here, but 5 goals in 25 starts, not great. Premier League wise, we did score 52 goals apparently. I just don't know where they came from. I guess that adds up to 58. But realistically, there were some very rough periods. Particularly here, I mean, you're looking at the calibre of our position there. But again, Leeds United, 1-1 away from home. Still a problem. At least we beat them at home this time. Well, the early periods involved beating Burnley away on the first day of the season. That felt good. It's a local rivalry. Man United, then Liverpool did what you kind of expect, although a point against Man United, lovely. Losing effectively the teams you expect to lose to. Manchester City, Chelsea, Norwich, and Everton away from home. But beating the likes of Newcastle at home, Brentford away, Wolves away, Burnley again. Drawing with Man United again, also beating Arsenal at home in the 92nd minute. Yep. But yeah, a bad run in January effectively ended any hopes of automatic European, which was sort of on the cards at that stage. But yeah, 5 games, 7 league games actually there, 3 points. Then we beat Wolves 4-0 because that's the natural result after that run, before losing to Bournemouth again. But a couple more losses, a few more wins in the run-in, including against Newcastle again away from home and Aston Villa, Crystal Palace and Everton, and then losing to Arsenal on the final day when it mattered to a penalty. And then we did beat Man United in the FA Cup final, even though it's not been played at this save point, because I'm an idiot and didn't save it after it. Oh, I did save it after it. I don't put a specific save. You know what I mean? But somehow we got 8th with 4 people with an average rating of more than 7. And one of them has a transfer arranged because he only made 2 appearances. Matt Rowley only made 3 appearances. Yeah, the only people with 7 average ratings are the only people who made 10 appearances at most, and that's Joachim Anderson, who was only available for 10 games effectively. So God knows how we got 8th out of this. And same formation. I may have forgotten Facundo Mata as well in all this, £4 million. Arguably the best transfer in we made. But the same lineup, Sherpen, Adarabioyo, Anderson, Rankin Costello, Best left back, as I said, Joan, Mata, Wharton, Ansic and Sigurdsson, not normally there, and Ribeiro. That right side was normally one of Oriano, Cabbage or Lakova, but they're all injured. Or indeed Hedges, who I was trying to sell all year, because he's not good. And yeah, Wolstad also injured at the end of the season, so Sherpen's in goal. I had no idea how we won that FA Cup final. It's why I didn't do it as a specific video, because I thought there's no way we're winning this, with no right winger having to use the left-sided player as a fill-in and backup goalkeeper. No way we're winning that. We won it 5-1. Now, admittedly, Man United with 2 injuries. They also didn't take it seriously and played Rui Patricio in goal, but we also had Sherpen, so, you know, we scored all 5 shots on target. But Season 3, Premier League money in. What do? Inbounds, Martin Vitic from Sparta, Prague, 8.25 million. Competent, right-footed, can play defensive midfield. Yuka Barashina, 1.8 million. Potential future player, left-footed. I don't really know why I brought in future players, if I'm completely honest. Marko Stamanic, central midfielder, can play defensive midfield. From Red Star, I believe that is 6.75. Good ratings, very good. Andrea Bellotti for 3 million. Yeah, I probably intended to use him more than I ended up actually using him for, and he actually had a good strike rate. Matai Kovar, as a goalkeeper, 3-star player, intended to be my backup. Matthias Vina on loan in the hopes to just sort of relieve Best of his duties a little bit at left back. Loan with the future arrangement. Hasn't played a lot because he's always injured. Ryan Francisco, 9.5 million. Again, a potential future to good player. I don't know why I spent so much money on a player who's not good now. Someone who has both of those really is Faniel Tuelde. 3 million from odds, which is where Volstad came from as well. So returning to that pipeline. 15 jump reach on the left-sided player. Not bad really. Has performed quite well. And now to move over to January, because Volstad got a bid from Saudi Arabia. Al Riyadh gave us 15 million for his... He's been terrible there. Gave us 15... I didn't even know this. He's 15 million. 15 million. 12 and 12 in Premier League. Actually, pretty good. But also sold Brandon Williams because we kind of got an offer that was too good to be true for him. 8.75 million from Villarreal. God knows why. Wow. Why are they so bad at their new clubs? Also Callum Britton, which causes a bit of a problem because he's the only other right back who could do something. We lost those 3 during January transfer window for money. Also a few more loans and things like that. So that meant we needed more players in January. Again, a future prospect free. Says League One standard. I got mugged off there, I think. Mihailo Kvetovic is someone I was hoping to help maybe the striking situation, because Ribeiro has played and has developed. So I figure getting someone in to play backup who can play left and right as well, fairly strong left foot, for 2.2 million, how can you say no? 1 goal in 5 starts, not superb. But to replace Volstad, who remember, we sold for 15 million, we brought in Carnacecchi for 3.5. We had him last year at Leeds. He was very good then. He's very good now. Adolfo Bautista, new gen, right back, future potential, leading National League currently, but, you know, has pace. It should just be clear, by the way, Rankin Costello and Mata, first and second choice right backs. And then Januzaj to help out the constantly injured right-sided players. He now also injured. But here, 31 years old, 1.9 million listed by Marseille. Unbelievable so far. We had him at Wolves and he wasn't that good. But here, in Season 3 of Blackburn, 7 starts, 6 substitute appearances, 2 goals, 5 assists, 1 player of the match, 7.35. He's been very good. Matt Target was also listed by Newcastle, 1.6 million for his services. Yeah, very solid left back. Gives Best that relief that Vina was supposed to do and then was constantly injured for. We acquired Mark McGuinness off Fulham. He hasn't really played, but it's more depth in central defence, having shifted off a few central defenders on loan or sold. And Sam Johnson was also available for 600k, so homegrown player, third choice. Because we also lost the other goalkeeper as well in Sherpen, who went out on loan with transfer to to Everton. And once again, I just realised why there were transfers missing in the last update, because they happened before the season ticked over. Hyam went to Leeds for 7 million. That was actually the only actual outbound in the summer window. Ernst was also a summer window outbound. It just happened literally the day before I checked in last time in season 2, because there was one other major signing from the relegated Leeds, and that was Archie Gray, who's made 29 appearances, 9 goals, 13 goals in total, 34 starts, 6.97 average. Yeah, it was important I mentioned that because he does appear quite often on the goal scorers list. As we started the season by losing to Arsenal, drawing to Man United and Chelsea, not great. But then we did beat Everton and Galatasaray in the Europa League phase. Notts County in the Cup. More wins in the Europa League phase against Sparta Trnava and Tel Aviv. Fairly comfortable games there. Galatasaray, actually, a big surprise, 4-0 away from home. 0-0 draw away at Man City. Bear in mind, at this point, it's only 1 win in 5 in the league. But Brighton, Brentford, West Ham all dispatched without conceding. In fact, October, no goals conceded there before we then lose to Bournemouth. Beat Braga in the league phase, beat Rakow and Wolfsburg to boot. 3-2 away from home, that one. Twelde, Laclava and Vitic on that particular one. They've got Asano Rodrigo, of course, former Wolves boy, in our stewardship. But yeah, rough period at the end of December where we lost to Burnley away. Liverpool draw 2-2 at home, in fairness, not too bad. But then losing away at Manchester United as well, twice. Then at home in the FA Cup third round, immediately rough draw in the FA Cup, but they got their immediate revenge. Everton in the Carabao Cup, we dispatched over 2 legs. Basel and Sporting meant that we ended up with a perfect record from the Europa League. This is where we are, of course, Inter Milan final. Yeah, perfect record in the Europa League for Blackburn, one of Kretivich's only goals. The rest of the league kind of went roughly okay. Everton, we lost to Everton there, but we did beat Brighton 7-3. Before once again going on an unbeaten run towards the end of the season, only to be thwarted by a London team away from home. But we did get our revenge on Burnley. There's still Liverpool to play in the league away from home at the end of the season, but I don't think it matters all that much. I tell a lie. I think it matters very much because there's 3 teams separated by 2 points, and then Everton, goal difference, probably keeps them at bay. But we did beat Manchester United in the Carabao Cup final. They don't like us in cup finals, apparently. But yeah, third round FA Cup, they beat us, so well, hey. Played Wolfsburg again in the Europa League there, 3-0 and 0-0 away from home. Fiorentina 1-0 both ways. And Eindhoven 2-0 at home, 3-3 away from home. That was a fun one. Also, I like the fact that Adnan Januzaj got the winning goal against Manchester City. He remembers his roots. But it is Inter Milan. Oh, and yeah, the reason why I brought you in at this very point in time is because apparently, transfer embargo, consortium takeover. It says 414, and it does say business tycoon, Ben Collins. So, different kind of... Can't seem to agree with itself, which is the odd thing. Here's the reveal. I changed formation to Maximum Volante, the formation that I built for a draft tournament recently because I didn't think I was going to win it and I just wanted to have fun. And because there are a raft of injuries to Bautista back at right back, of course, who is not superb yet still, Azic and Januzaj, we are a little bit short on the bench along with a bunch of unregistrations because of commitments. I'm even having to include Hayden Carter, who is basically deceased, on this bench. And I can't even start Anderson or... I don't know why some of my players are tired. I rested them. I don't know what's happened. But it does mean we're going to line up with Karnasecki in goal. Best Zeze Vitic. It should be Anderson, but he's tired. Rankin Costello, Wharton, Joan Gonzalez. Should be Stamanic, but he's tired. Archie Gray normally starts in the CM attack. Twelde, Cabbage and Ribeiro up front, who has 25 goals this year in 39 starts. He has turned up. Archie Gray has 13 goals in 34. Wharton 10 in 41. Goals are spread out here. Also, because this is a random midweek game, it does appear that Inter Milan aren't faring too well either. Barella is knackered, Dumfries isn't perfect either. Both their wingbacks have reasonable other feet, so I won't force them onto those feet. So, a couple of good youth prospects that came through in early youth intakes on the bench in the form of Mertens and Mukatungu. I think I had another space. I didn't take it. Realistically, anyone else would have just been fodder anyway. Livakovic in goal for them. Ake in their central defence. They have one of the wonder kids this year in Sever Halseth Nijpen. It's a bit of a kit clash, isn't it? You'd have thought we may have gone into our yellow for this if Inter had been classed as the home team. That's bounced off a couple of people, and that was the highlight. They still have a front pair of Thuram and Martinez. And Ribeiro is injured after 23 minutes, potential groin injury. Perfect. Well, we'll play Belotti just because it's too early to bring on a tired Kretivic. Superb. I mean, it's a thrilling game. 3 shots in total. I'm so glad I brought it to you. Feel sorry for anyone who paid money for this. As we round out the final half with no shots on target, 4 shots in total. Do seem to be, on the whole, fitter, so maybe I did rest them and that's just what happened. But winning in the league was also important because we need to make sure we get Champions League that way if we don't get it this way. Interesting highlight so far that's ended up with Karnasecki claiming a cross. I was expecting a mistake or a back post header or something like that when the cross came in, but it didn't. Although this time Lautaro Martinez has been put over the top and that's gone into the box. Thuram's near post. Easiest goal he'll score all season. Thank you for leaving wide open. This is obviously what you do against high-quality European teams. You just don't bother attacking Lautaro Martinez, and then the centre-back is the one that's gone out for him there. You leave the person that you probably should have been looking after completely exposed. Good work there. Although we have a free kick now, and we've given it to Cabbage on the edge of the box that I thought I was going to go in. At least there's more shots this second half. Throw in for Rankin Costello. Throws it short, of course, but Wharton. Cabbage finds Belotti. He was off, I think. Just a goal kick. Well, a different game this might have been if that was Ribeiro on the end of that. I have literally nobody who can come on for Cabbage. And the best person I can bring in on the other side is a youth prospect who's 1.5 stars. I literally can't bring anyone on at this point. That actually makes us better. Okay, the fact it's gone this far means I bring Kvetovic on there, even though he's tired. Actually, yeah, I bring all the tired people on now that the people that they're replacing are even more tired. Anderson, Stamenic, I brought in Matt O'Reilly. I didn't mean to bring him on, I don't think. Got my midfielders messed up. And, well, we've been FM'd slightly. So it's not quite European glory, but I'm sure Blackburn fans won't mind actually getting to a final by 2026. It's quite a short time span. And should we beat Liverpool on the final day, results go in our favour. We'll still have Champions League football through the league. Coefficient probably means that 5th is good enough either way. Weirdly, 4th and 5th in the coefficient this year is Portugal and Netherlands, I think. Neither Spain or France are in the top 5 of the coefficients this year. The nearest challenger is Germany, I think, in 3rd. Was a bit of a dull game. Decent money for that, of course. We do get Anderson, Stamenic and Mata in Europa League squad of the season, weirdly. Unfortunately, the person who actually got player of the season, which is Leon Bailey, somehow, despite not making the final, plays in the same place that Tuelde does. 6 players called up to the 26 World Cup. Ribeiro for Portugal, Anderson for Denmark. They're not surprises. Niall Ennis, who's still here. He's got transfer out, I think, for Jamaica. And Andrew Abayo for Nigeria. Along with 2 New Zealanders in Stamenic, who, yep, obviously. And Yannick Modens, who is a youth prospect. You saw him on the bench in that final. Worth money, 17 years old. Apparently one of their best players in New Zealand, which is a bit of a damning indictment, really. But the situation here is effectively the coefficients should give 5th place Champions League, regardless of what happens here. Bournemouth, again, if you seed my one club per city, Bournemouth in the running as well. I don't know what it is about Bournemouth this year, but apparently they're quite good after a few years. They do have to play Aston Villa, though. Away from home, who are 7th. We play Liverpool, who are 10th, Chelsea are 8th, Spurs are 9th, Newcastle 14th. Yeah, it's Arsenal versus Man United this year, and the league winner can have at most 80 points. They play each other, no one will do the job, and Arsenal beat Manchester United, so the Premier League winners win on 80 points. That's a very low tally, if I'm not mistaken. But it's Bournemouth in 4th, Everton in 5th, Manchester City 6th, because they drew away at Newcastle. Ironically, Rodri sabotaging them in that case. Normally turns up in the big moments, this time cost them. Because Everton beat Burnley and Bournemouth beat Aston Villa. Good lord. We're given 67 million and 1.5 million per week. I don't really know what that means, but it's not much more than we've got right now, frankly. Well, there we have it. The situation at the end of 2026. Has the FA Cup final already been played and have Aston Villa already won it because they've got UEL? Nonetheless, and there's our competition overview for 2026. The end of this particular rebuild. Premier League 3rd for Blackburn. 66 points is a very low tally for 3rd, but we'll take it. More than last year anyway. Points-wise, Europa League, runner-up, FA Cup, Man United 3rd round. So what? Carabao Cup, though, beat them for that. So silverware, 2 years running. FA Cup last year, Carabao Cup this year. So it's not like we've been silverware-less entirely. Just no European glory, unfortunately. But it's literally our 2nd season in the Premier League. Getting to the Europa League final was a miracle in its own right. Brighton get relegated, so there's some good players there should this rebuild continue in some shape or form somewhere down the line. But that's it from me. If you've enjoyed this rebuild and enjoyed this Blackburn revival, then feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do check out the experiment that we did recently, the one club per city experiment, where Bournemouth do well in that as well. But, you know, Everton don't exist, Man United don't exist. Annoyingly, Blackburn don't do too well in that either. But nonetheless, thank you for watching. Until next time, ta-ra.